How about that? Garden America is back in studio. We are celebrating a nice long Labor Day weekend with you, at least part of your Labor Day weekend as we kick off a Saturday morning. John Bagnasco is here. Tiger Palafox is here. I'm Brian Main. I'm here as well. We trust you had a good week. We enter the weekend with a great show lined up today. It's going to be a good time. John is here, tan, rested, and ready, as I referred to. That was an old Richard Nixon. There was something back in the 70s. I'm back, tan, rested, and ready.
Really?
That's what Nixon said? Tan?
There was
rested
something.
and ready?
Yeah, tan, rested, and ready.
I don't remember that.
I was going to ask you, when is John not tan? Like, if he comes in
the winter,
in the middle of January, are you going to be and here is John Bagnasco.
White, pasty, and ready to go.
Exactly.
White, pasty, and ready to go.
I am usually tan, though, but look at this difference.
Yeah.
Well, wait a second. What are you pointing to that we can't see?
He's pointing to his leg down there. Yeah.
But that's because I do a lot of work outside.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Now, did you had skin cancer taken off a while back, right? Because I remember this story. Your doctor told you one time, you don't have to worry about it. You'll never get skin cancer. And you did.
Italian.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it just goes to show, question everything your doctor tells you.
Yeah, don't believe him.
So what'd you guys do this week?
I worked a lot. It was a busy week. We had a lot of projects going on, a lot of stuff going on with the kids at home. And, and now they're off. It was so funny. So, Janine's a teacher. So she's been back to work for.
This is your wife, for those that are
Yes.
new to the show.
She's been back to work for about 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks now. And this week she comes to me. She's like, "Oh, man, so nice to have a 3-day weekend. I need this break." And I'm like, you coming from me, who I don't get a summer off or anything,
right?
And she's like, I need this break. I'm like, what do you need the break from? You've been back to work for 3 weeks.
That's why you always vacation without her, though, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you need a break.
Yeah.
Not next year, though.
No, exactly. Summertime trip.
Right. A lot of listeners have been asking us about the trip coming up because they got to make plans for next year. They can't wait for us, right?
Nope. Yeah, we got to hurry up.
But anyway, we do have a trip that we're nailing down the final details, and it
Are we
looks
that
like
far ahead? Wow, I thought we just got started with this.
it looks like we're going to Scotland, which will be
Northern
really
England.
exciting. We'll do a tour of Scotland, and usually when we do European tours, I would say half the people fly over there a day or two ahead of time, right? So that you can get used to the jet lag.
Get settled.
Yeah. So we're thinking what we're going to do, if people are interested, is maybe fly into London and go to the Hampton Court Flower Show. And then we'll head up to Scotland and do a tour of Scotland. There's some great private gardens up there, great public gardens. The Royal Botanic Garden in Edinburgh is unbelievable. We won't be there in the spring, but in spring, imagine looking at rhododendrons in full bloom that are over 20 feet tall.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, we saw some of those when we were on our England trip, and I thought there was a tree. I'm like, what is this flowering tree?
Yeah.
And it was a rhododendron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we're going to Alnwick Castle. And Alnwick
You put a lot of thought into this, haven't you?
We did. Alnwick Castle is pictured in the Harry Potter movies, right? I think it's Hogwarts, the outside of the castle. But that has the largest collection of David Austin roses anywhere in the world except the David Austin Garden. But it's just amazing. That should be peak bloom when we go there.
You were saying that during that time of year.
You're talking about July?
Should be.
Is that what you said?
July.
July, yeah.
Yeah, because we keep saying this, but in Scotland, one of their comedians says we've got 2 seasons in Scotland, July and winter. So we decided not to go in winter, but to go in July. And then it also has the famous poison garden. In the poison
we've talked about that before.
Yeah, and the poison garden's fenced in. Mm-hmm. And when you open the gate, on the gate is a skull and crossbones.
Sure. Yeah. So many have entered.
Yeah.
And I hope they leave the gate squeaky on purpose.
like rather than putting WD-40, the
go.
guy actually makes it a little more squeaky.
Sure.
And then Tiger worked in a whiskey tasting for us.
Jack Daniels?
Worked in. I don't think they have that in Scotland.
it's Scotch.
Oh, it wouldn't matter. They
Yeah.
probably have something much better.
Scotch whiskey.
Yeah.
exactly.
But we're going to go to a distillery where they actually make it, and we'll see how they do it. We'll go to the Plant Hunter's Garden in Pitlochry.
As someone who
bagpipes.
doesn't drink, I would do one shot. One
You're
shot.
supposed to sip it. You're supposed to sip it. It's good.
You know, when we
One shot.
we
down
went
the
to Scotland about 20 years ago, and we were in this distillery, and you were, I don't know what was going on in this huge vat, but you're supposed to smell it, and I didn't realize you're supposed to like stand there and use your hand to wave
So you
some
put
air
your nose
towards
down
you.
in there.
You,
Yeah, so-
you waft it.
Yeah,
The process
well, I
of wafting.
bent over and took in, a huge inhaling. And,
Burnt off your nostrils.
well, not only that, I almost fell over the end. It like knocked you out.
You know what? And I totally believe that story because when I was in 9th grade, I worked in the stagecraft. That was a class. We built props for the plays and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was told to go to the closet, get some cleaning supplies. I opened it up and I saw there was bleach. And I said, oh, I like the smell of bleach. But like you,
Yeah.
I took and I did fall over. I fell right back. I saw stars, and it was like, whoa, I'll never do that again. But you're right. In doses, small doses, it's like gasoline. I like the smell of gas. A little bit.
I think this is a little bit different. He wasn't talking that he enjoyed this and then
Yeah.
did it. He was told to kind of just take a whiff,
Yeah.
whiff, and he just took a bigger one. You seems like you were
Yeah,
trying to make this happen.
It's like, I do like the way this smells. Let me take a huge whiff.
Exactly.
It'll smell even better.
The nice part, when we went to Costa Rica, that was a little bit of a strenuous tour too.
It was
You know
long,
what was
a lot of
strenuous
driving.
about it? That bus ride.
Yeah.
Because you would do 25 miles in a day, and it seemed like 100
Yeah.
because of the winding roads. And I know one day I got a little
Yeah.
tipsy, and a couple of other people did too. So
I'm trying to think because we've been talking about different parts of our trip, but is this the one that had the historic train that we were going to be taking somewhere?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. There was a train portion we were talking about putting on the tour.
Yeah.
A steam train.
oh,
A
choo
steam
choo,
train.
baby.
A steam train,
Choo
yeah.
choo choo.
I have a miniature rose called Choo Choo Centennial.
I bet you there's a lot of train roses. You know what I mean? Like I bet you there's a lot of roses
Train.
with train references.
I can't think of any others.
You will. You will. Because
Is there a rose called Steamboat Willie?
there's got to be a rose with a locomotive in
I think
the name.
there's a steamboat something. I don't think Steamboat Willie.
Locomotive. There's got to be a caboose rose.
Yeah.
There's got to be boxcar rose.
You know what? Speaking of caboose,
There is a caboose.
I miss cabooses. They don't have them anymore in trains.
Well, this one does, Brian.
Then I'll be very happy.
Yeah, you
Hey,
need
I
the
think-
steam trains.
I think you better get to the quote. We've got a couple of minutes to go. Then we're going to bring in our guest.
Yeah.
Someone who is a familiar with us, familiar with our listeners, and a friend of the show.
Yeah. Going with the tropical theme as we're in the
that
summer
you've
here
continued.
is Tatiana with Top Tropicals. We're going to be talking about tropical shrubs in the landscape that
tropical
are
shrub.
edible or have some kind of food value to them.
Who'd have thunk a tropical shrub? A shrub that's tropical.
You didn't see any shrubs when we were in Costa Rica?
Not that we're
edible.
tropical.
Yeah.
They were all tropical shrubs.
Anyway, the quote is from one of your favorite authors, Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. And he said, every once in a while I get mad. The Lorax came out of my being angry. The ecology books I read were dull. And in the Lorax, I was out to attack what I think are evil things and let the chips fall where they might.
Not where they may, but where they might.
That's what it says.
And that was his last name was Giesel. What was his first name?
Theodore?
Theodore.
Theodore Giesel. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. A La Jolla resident, John,
Mm-hmm.
at one time.
I was in his garden, and they have
This
a...
is back when you were going into everybody's garden at night.
No, this
Back
was-
before they caught you.
This was actually during the day, and he had a statue of the Lorax in his garden.
Yeah, why not? Why wouldn't he?
Little Browns. And I told you about his, we mentioned on the air before, I was really impressed with his wall fountain because the wall fountain was a dinosaur footprint.
Ooh, cool.
And, a
A
real,
real one, they took, what, plaster of Paris or something? Or
no, it actually was cut out of the rock.
wow.
So they took this whole slab and the water would come over, put it on the wall, and then the water kind of came over it. And,
Over the actual footprint?
right, and went into a little pond.
Wow.
Cool.
Okay, this is as good a time as any to take a break. Our first segment is in the history books. Segment number 2 coming up after the break, welcoming those on Biz Talk Radio. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us. We're going to take a break for you. I'm Brian Main, John Begnasco, Tiger Palafox. Tatiana, our guest, is next here on Garden America. Whatever you do, stay with us. We trust you had a good break. We are back. It is Garden America. Again, welcoming all those that are tuned in each and every week on Biz Talk Radio. Those of you on Facebook Live, thank you for supporting Garden America. And a big thanks to our major sponsor, Fertilome, keeping us on the air nationally and right here at home from the iHeart Media Studios, Media and Entertainment Studios, John, because we do all that here in Southern California, San Diego. Tiger, Tatiana is ready to go. Let's talk tropicals.
Yeah, so a friend of the show, longtime listener and guest, Tatiana, joining us from Florida, where she owns toptropicals.com, a nursery there centered in Florida and sells online all around the world. Tatiana, thanks for joining us. How are you doing this morning?
So how are you guys? Very nice to hear you again.
Yeah.
So how is this summer in California? Is it really hot, unusually hot, or?
Well, let's see. Hot compared to Florida. That's a little.
Okay.
We don't have your humidity, but it's been a lot of dry heat, and I would imagine some people would say humid, but nothing like you experience in Florida.
And Tatiana, we hate to brag too much, but let's be real. We can't complain about too much here because our hot is 80 and our cold
90
is,
maybe.
Our cold is 75. But we were just talking about this morning on how it was so nice to have a little bit of a break from the heat. Because I think yesterday, what did you say the high got up to yesterday there?
81
Yeah.
was the high.
81 yesterday was the high. So, and that was a little break from the heat of it being 85 to 90. So it's going well. How are things in Florida right now? Are you getting affected by any of this storm coming through?
No, luckily this year was very good to us. And in fact, we're also getting a little break from heat. So it's also like high 80s, which is cool for Florida in summer because it was starting May, it was up to 100. It was horrible.
Oh, wow.
But the plants love it,
Oh, yeah.
Everything grows so fast this year. We just can't keep up with trimming.
Oh, I bet you it's one of those places that, you trim a plant and then 6 weeks later you probably have to trim it again just because, along with the heat, they're getting the water and, just the ideal growing conditions there.
Yeah, absolutely. It grows fast. And my problem is I can't throw away a single cutting. So every one of them I root. And now I have so many plants
Yep.
Oh,
that I can share with you guys if you want.
Isn't that how you started your business, Tatiana? That
That's exactly. Many people would understand what I mean. Because if you can't throw away a seed, business starts.
Yeah, exactly. And that is the nice thing about where you live is that you can start a lot of plants from cuttings and they just grow so well. Hey, so Tatiana, we've been having a little bit of a tropical theme going on because it's summertime and a lot of parts of the country, even if they're not very tropical places, this is the time of year when you see tropical plants. You see the plumerias, you see the hibiscus, you see the cannas and all of the, kind of more tropical plants, the palms. And we thought we'd bring you on because not only are you a specialized in tropical plants, but also tropical edible plants, and taking it a little bit different direction, not just edible from a standpoint of a fruit, like a mango or a banana or avocado, but almost kind of like herbal or, edible foliage. And you shared with me a small list of some of the options that you have. Now, when we were in Costa Rica this past spring, it was amazing to see all the plants that just grow wild around that have edible aspects of it. And we got an opportunity to visit a farm where they shared cinnamon and different spices. Uh-oh. Did we lose her?
I think we lost her.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like the old days when you get a busy signal when you try to call somebody.
Yeah.
Is that what you're identifying?
That's a flashback in time. So continue.
Yeah.
I will get a hold of Tatiana once again.
Yeah,
right.
I think she warned us that if she was bored, she was just going to hang up.
So you're saying I bored her?
Well, I don't know. Try a different tact when she comes back. I was just asking her, though, about how she started her business, and she came from Moscow, really. Her and her husband lived in Moscow, and her apartment there was just full of houseplants. And then when they moved over here, she was so excited because a lot of these houseplants could be grown outdoors, right?
Yeah.
And she started buying on eBay and different places. And her husband said, hey, do you think you could sell some of this to pay for what you're bringing in? And that was how she started.
And then, like she said, just take cuttings from these plants, start to propagate
Well,
them.
especially in Florida, right?
Yeah.
Because you've got the humidity where here it's a little bit more difficult because it's too dry.
Yeah. And it's finding that balance. Did you get her back on?
Well done. Yes, she did admit that the connection is not real good, so we will continue to monitor that, but she is back.
Yeah, she did give us another phone number.
Yes.
So, okay. Well, Tatiana, welcome back.
Yes, great. So sorry, I'm kind of out in the boonies, in the country area, so sometimes we have phone drops. So
not a problem at all. Not a problem.
It's okay.
We'll keep it going. Before we were disconnected, we were just kind of talking about. I was setting you up to talk about some of the plants. You'd sent a small list of some different unique edible, herbal, tropical plants that people can grow in their landscapes. And one of the first ones was the hibiscus, right, Tatiana?
Yeah, in fact, many people don't realize that some hibiscus species are edible, and they're edible in salads, they're edible for teas, all kinds of drinks. And one of my favorites, in fact, is the one I mentioned. It's a Jamaica tea flower, or carcade hibiscus. Everybody probably knows the hibiscus tea. You can buy it in grocery store, but nobody knows where it comes from. That's exactly the plant. It's called Hibiscus subtropical, and I really like it also just because it's not only edible plant, it's also beautiful ornamental. It grows very fast. It grows within one season from seed to abundant harvest, that you can collect those flowers. And every year now, I got hooked on that plant, really. I got hooked on that tea. I don't drink black tea anymore. That's my favorite now. It tastes kind of like a cranberry juice. It has a lot of flavor to it. Sometimes you don't even want to put any sugar in it. So this plant, I recommend. It's very easy to grow. It doesn't mind low humidity, high humidity, so pretty much it grows in any conditions. And you can grow it as an annual. If it gets cold in your area, it still can grow from seed, and within a few months you're going to have a fully grown shrub with nice pink flowers and this red flower. It's actually not the flowers that you use for the tea. It's a flower bracts that's around the flower, Oh. And you just collect them, you dry them on a tray, and it's a wonderful addition to your food forest, to your edible landscape.
And for those of you that are listening right now, when you get a chance, you can go onto our Facebook page, and I posted a picture that Tatiana shared with us of, I'm assuming it's your lovely cat next to your harvest of the hibiscus jamaica flower.
Yep.
And
That was the harvest day.
and for those of you living in Southern California or next to a Latin America area, it's jamaica. It's the
Right.
jamaica juice that she's talking about, and this comes from the hibiscus flower as she describes. Very good one. And when we're going to take a break right now, Tatiana, but when we get back, we'll continue this conversation regarding some of the really neat tropicals that you can plant and grow in your garden, and also use them in the kitchen.
And those on Facebook Live, of course, questions, comments for Tatiana. Have at it as we continue here. Garden America, Brian Main, John Begnasco, Tiger Palafox taking a break. These messages coming your way for those on Biz Talk Radio. All righty, back from that break, Biz Talk Radio Facebook Live as we continue. We're talking with Tatiana today, tropicals. We're talking, if it's tropical, we'll talk about it. We'll discuss it.
Yeah, and we have Tatiana joining us from Top Tropicals. And before the break, she was just describing growing a hibiscus, a specific hibiscus, because you can't just use any hibiscus, right,
No.
Tatiana, for this? This is a specific
Well, I tell
hibiscus.
you what, all hibiscus plants are edible. Let's put it this way: they're not poisonous. So if you eat a hibiscus part of a plant, any part of the plant, that's fine.
Yeah.
But there are certain species that are especially tasty. There is some salad hibiscus, and the one we're just talking about, the Jamaican hibiscus, it's really good for tea.
Yeah. And I know that you didn't include this on the list, but a lot of people wonder where tea comes from. And that's a camellia. And you actually
It's a
have that one
camellia,
listed
yes.
as well, right? As far as like
Yes.
one of the plants you grow?
It's a camellia, it's sinensis. It's related to those beautiful camellia flowers that everybody knows. So it's the same genus, different species. And we also grow those plants. We always have them, yes. And we even when we send you a plant, we also include instructions how to make your own tea. Because it's not just collecting leaves and putting them in the hot water. There is a certain procedure there.
Yeah.
So it's like with coffee beans or like cacao beans, chocolate tree, right? There is a certain technique how to make them into the drink that you commercially known.
Yeah. And are you still there, Tatiana?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
good.
I can
Sorry.
hear you.
Yeah, when we learned about that recently about how to make coffee and how to make chocolate from the coffee bean,
Right.
or from the chocolate beans. And, it amazed me because this is not a technique, when you're talking about like the tea, coffee, and chocolate. These are not just pick from the trees and eat techniques. Like there's a process, and, the coffee bean being roasted and dried and all of that. And then the cacao bean being, did it have to be fermented, Brian? Is that, do you remember?
I
It had
think
to be
so,
like
yeah.
fermented or something,
Yeah.
right? Like to actually be chocolate. And
Right.
then, like you're saying, the tea, you have to properly dry out the leaves, and there's a technique to doing it. But nonetheless, they are still good plants that you can grow in your landscape. And if you want to learn how to do that process, you can easily do it. So you can make your own Jamaica tea or your own, just tea in general from the camellia plant. Another plant you had listed, the next on the list, sorry, I just posted them online, was the sweet leaf, the Aztec sweet herb, the Lipia. Now, that one, what a neat addition to just the landscape as well. I mean, there's benefits from the edible, but then it's also a great landscape plant, right, Tatiana?
Yes, in fact, I'm replacing right now all my ground covers with this sweet Lipia, sweet leaf, because it's both useful and pretty, and it's easy to grow. So it can be grown as a ground cover. It will keep your weeds away, which is also a good benefit. And this plant can be used together with the hibiscus we were just talking about, because some people don't want to put sugar. They add, let's say, honey instead, right? But nowadays, I add Lipia, this sweet leaf, instead of honey.
Now, is that? There she goes.
But we do have another number, right?
Yeah, I'll give it to you right now. Or do you have a?
No,
Well,
We're early into this one. So I tell you what, let me call him back on this number.
Here,
And then
I got it right here.
Well, let's not give it out over the
No,
air.
no, no.
Oh, okay,
I get
gotcha. Okay.
The Lipia that I'm familiar with is the ground cover Lipia tiger. Is it the same one, the Lipia rapens?
I don't think rapens was the second part of the name.
Okay.
Sorry, Brian.
That's why I wonder if it was a different species.
But it looks
The same?
It looks the same. Because
Kind of looks like Carapia, right?
It's a cross between Carapia and a mint. Like a mint. Like it
Right.
has that spear-shaped foliage like a mint.
Right.
And I was going to ask her because, the description and everything is very sweet. That I wondered if you use it as a ground cover. You know how when you're working in the garden, how you get the scents, the flavors of whatever you're working with. I wonder if you have that in the ground cover, if it's just sweet when you're out there working in the garden, because I imagine it's a little bit like stevia, and just the leaf on stevia is sweet.
Right. Stevia is a shrub, though.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. As a ground cover, I wonder if it's sweet like that.
Yeah, not a shrub, but
but as a low growing.
Right.
No, she has the last part of it as dulcis. Lipia dulcis. I don't know if that's any different than just the repens.
Okay, we got a different number, and we're gonna take 3
Okay.
or take 2, whatever it is.
So Tatiana, are you back with us now?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
We were just talking about this Lipia, and you're using it as a ground cover. Now, is the foliage sweet? If you touch it, can you taste the sweetness right there on that foliage?
In fact, some people pick it up from the plant, and you can just chew the leaf, and it's like a candy. It's so sweet, and it has very pleasant flavor. And, of course, you can use it for the tea. You can add it to the hibiscus tea that we were just discussing with you, right? You can use it as a sweetener for anything you don't want to add sugar, right? Some people don't like stevia because it has a little aftertaste, almost artificial sweetness, right?
right.
Lipia doesn't have it. It tastes exactly like sugar. It tastes kind of like honey, I would say. So it's a very, very good option for people who don't want to use sugar in their diet.
Tatiana, one of our listeners wants to know if because it's sweet, does it attract ants?
I've never seen ants on it, to be honest with you. I mean, don't get me wrong. We have lots of ants in Florida. They're everywhere.
Right.
On every plant. But I don't see it being attracting any ants, any extra insects. So it's pretty decent plant. It's very easy to maintain. It's kind of a little spreading, but it's not invasive. It's not like something you plant and the next week you have your whole yard covered. But you can plant it under a tree in kind of a semi-shade conditions, kind of like you would do with the mint, right? It has very similar growth habits. So you already brought it up that it's related. It's in that same family.
Yeah. And so, again, but this is something that, you can put into your beds. It's got a little attractive white flower. Now, does it flower kind of year round, or is it very seasonal when it comes to the bloom cycle?
The plant itself is perennial. That's important. So it's not like some annual that you have to plant every year. So once you have it, and once it's happy, you're going to have it for many years. It flowers on and off a few times a year. And it's kind of a seasonal as far as the active growth is only when it's nice and warm. When it gets cold, it kind of goes, it doesn't lose leaves. It's evergreen.
Yeah.
But it kind of slows down a little bit. But once you get it growing, you're going to have a really nice, thick, kind of a carpet, wherever you want to plant it. I always suggest semi-shade because the direct sun can burn the leaves a little bit.
Tiger, because of our connection, a lot of listeners can't hear some of the words, but they wondered if you could post the spelling of the species of Lipia.
Yes.
And for listeners on the radio, it's Lippia. Mm-hmm. And then the...
she wrote dulcis, the kind of like candy, so Dulcis. And then the other one that you said, was Repens,
Repens is
which I think is another kind of
Right.
same kind of name for it as well.
yeah.
But really neat. It's a good filler plant. So when they and the other thing that you can use these for, and we're talking about obviously using them in the landscape, Tatiana, which makes perfect sense because it's always nice. But you could also use this particular one in a container. And when they talk about putting a container together with like a filler plant and spiller plant and all that, this is a great filler/spiller plant because, like you say, it kind of grows like a mint. So it's going to fill up an area in a potted, arrangement. And the foliage is really beautiful. It's kind of neat to be able to kind of touch it and get that sweet flavor out of it as well. And then, like I said, it does bloom, which is very attractive as well. And I posted a picture. I will put the spelling on all of these. I put their common names, but I'll put the actual Latin names for all these plants as well.
Yeah, I just posted the spelling of the Lipia because Linda said that she has the closed captioning on and it came out as Libya.
Yeah.
Libya's a completely different.
Yeah. Don't order that.
Yeah.
Hey, Tatiana, we are going to take another break. When we get back from the break, we'll continue chatting with our friend from Florida there, Tatiana with Top Tropicals.
Yeah, break for Biz Talk Radio. Questions, comments right there on our Facebook page. As we continue on your Labor Day weekend, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Brian Main, along with Tiger Palafox, John Bagnasco, better known as Garden America. Stay with us. Back from the break, and for those that are tuned in on Biz Talk Radio, this is the final segment of Hour 1. We give you 2 hours, and hopefully your market carries both hours, at least one of them, 1 or 2. News coming up, top of the hour, back at 6 minutes after for those on Biz Talk Radio. Tiger?
Yeah, so we're chatting with our friend from Florida, Tatiana, who owns the nursery Top Tropicals there, where you can buy plants online, and she will ship them via mail to you. Lots of really unique tropical fruits, edible plants, and flowering things that she has there. And as she said, it's been a very productive year this year because a lot's been growing. So she has a lot of young plants to go, to go around. Now, Tatiana, this next plant that you posted in the list to me, I'm excited about because number one, it's a very pretty plant. Green, purplish foliage. Almost looks like some kind of unique philodendron or houseplant. But then in the name, there's a lot of good benefits to it. The longevity spinach. Are you familiar with this one, John?
Right.
Yeah.
I think we've done some articles in the newsletter.
Yeah,
on it.
I think so. Longevity spinach, Tatiana. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, longevity spinach is the plant that we've been growing for many years, and we use it almost I wouldn't say every day, but at least once a week I use it in my cooking. I'm not a big fan of spinach in general, but it does taste like a regular spinach, so if you guys like it, you can add it to salads, but I particularly like it in cooking. I add it to omelets, I add it to stews, and they say that this plant is the secret of your long life. So we'll see what happens. So far, everybody's alive. maybe it will work out for us. As far as plant growing, it's also very easy species. So pretty much everything we're discussing today, all these plants can be grown in California, and they're not very sensitive. They can even take some light freeze. They can take some dry air, some periods of drought. So it's easy. So it's both Florida and California can benefit from this plant. The same thing with the longevity spinach. So it grows into kind of a herbaceous bush. It grows very fast. You can keep it in a pot, but be prepared to step it up every few months because it's going to be big. And, of course, you can cut as many as you want, and you can use the cuttings. It's very easy to propagate from cuttings. You just stick it in another pot with soil, and you'll have another one for your friends and family. So it's another very, very easy plant. And pretty much it looks good in landscape. So you can also use it wherever you want, kind of a low-growing shrubbery or kind of a tall ground cover. It keeps weeds away. It makes everything look pretty, and it's useful.
Yeah.
So it's one of those plants that I think everybody should have. And every one of my friends has this plant now because I share it. I love it.
Now they're all going to
So
live.
longevity spinach is one of the best edibles you can use in your food forest, in your edible landscape.
And now Tatiana's friends are all going to live to 125 because of the longevity spinach. Now you say it gets big though.
Yep.
Now how tall does this plant get, and how wide?
Well, if let's say you have a big space for it, it can be as wide as 6-7 feet. It can kind of spread the branches. And it's not very tall. It stays maybe 3 feet high and just kind of a, low-growing shrub. But if you don't have that space, don't worry about it. I mean, it's just you can take advantage of this rapid growth to cover larger areas.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to keep it in a pot, it's fine too. And by the time you keep trimming it for food, you will be fine. It doesn't need to be controlled too much. So it's pretty easy to grow.
What was the genus on the longevity spinach?
That we're just talking about?
Right.
It's a Genura. Everybody knows it's in aster family. Everybody knows the purple house plant,
Right.
Genura.
Yeah.
So this is close related. It's Genura procumbens, a
Right.
longevity spinach. And the family is Asteraceae, aster family. It has this tiny little kind of a orange, fluffy, little aster-looking flowers, like a tiny miniature aster. So the flowers are very pretty too.
And
The regular Genura,
yeah,
it smells pretty bad when it blooms, so
Yeah.
it's not that one. And our listeners want to know the spelling on that is Gynura, right? Gynura. And Tatiana, one of our listeners, Lila from Poway, from past shows, has gone onto your website, and she sees that you occasionally offer a Lila avocado and wants to know if that's going to be in stock again someday.
Yeah, it's very popular variety, which I believe we probably have about 20 plants coming up soon, maybe in the next month, because I remember we were grafting them a few months ago. So we will have more. Just if you want this particular variety, or if you want anything that you don't see with the price on the website, you can click the link that says add to wish list, and you fill out your email address, and automatically the system will send you email notification when we have it back in stock.
Oh, that's a
Sometimes-
great idea.
Yeah, sometimes we have only a few available, and the whole waiting list of people who want it. So it comes very helpful, this feature.
Hey, Tatiana, regarding that longevity spinach, does it have that purple foliage? Is that part of the new growth? Is that part of the older growth, or
It's underleaf.
so it's just
underleaf.
always on the undergrowth of the foliage?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In fact, there is two varieties of longevity spinach. There is a purple one and the green one.
Okay.
To be honest, I don't taste any difference, no difference in taste, but it's just some people prefer. I'd say the purple one is a little bit slower grower, and the green one is a little bit more, vigorous.
Okay. All right.
Carla's asking if it's the same as New Zealand spinach, and it's not.
No.
It's completely different, Carla.
There's a lot of spinaches out there. But we're going to have to take a break again, Tatiana. When we get back, we'll wrap up chatting with Tatiana regarding some of the wonderful tropical edible plants that she shared today. But like I said, right now we're going to take another small break.
Yes, indeed. News coming up. on Biz Talk Radio. No news here on Facebook Live, but we'll be back, I should say, a bit quicker for those on Facebook Live. Biz Talk Radio, we're back at 6 minutes after for hour number 2. Do stay with us. We continue our conversation with Tatiana here on Garden America. Brian Main, John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox. Thank you for joining us on this Labor Day weekend here on Garden America. Hey, how about that? Garden America is back. Hour number 2, I should say, for Biz Talk Radio to clarify things. And for those on Facebook Live, we never went anywhere. We're right here. We do take breaks, though. I want to thank Fertilome, our major sponsor here on Garden America, as we continue and gradually wrap things up with Tatiana. Tiger?
Yeah, so, John mentioned something during the break, which is important, is that a lot of places from Florida cannot sell plants to California, but Tatiana has a certificate that allows her to share her plants with us in California, because a lot of these plants do actually do very well here, right, Tatiana? So it's nice that you can ship plants to California. As Lila was mentioning the avocado, right?
Right.
And
right.
I mean, sometimes
yes, we ship avocados, mangoes, all kinds of fruit trees to California as well. Most of them. There is a few exceptions with the regulations, but most of our plants, 99%, they are certified to ship to California.
We can't even get plants from Arizona sometimes right next door to us. So
yeah,
I
really.
know. I know.
So.
With Arizona, it's similar regulations.
Yeah.
It's just this year we're finally able to ship Subtropical start shipping to Arizona as well. It was, believe it or not, it was more difficult than shipping to California.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Usually we're pretty strict.
Yeah. Got a lot of our Arizona listeners, too.
Yeah, exactly. So, and if you want to put in the effort, you can definitely grow some of these plants there. So, Tatiana, again, lots of wonderful plants. They can go to toptropicals.com.
We had a note on our website that, unfortunately, we cannot ship to Arizona. It wasn't about certification. It was just some additional rules. Mm-hmm. But finally, they opened that gate. So we can finally send you our plants.
Perfect. Good to know. And you're shipping plants now, right? I mean, if it's available and somebody wants it shipped, you can ship it now, right?
Yes, we ship it year-round. Of course, we monitor the weather as a destination, and if it gets above 100 degrees, we may hold your order. But we're usually good at it. We look at every particular plant. Some plants, let's say desert roses, you can ship it when it's hot. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
But some more sensitive tropicals, they can be just delayed. But we ship year-round, anytime, any day of the year.
And a lot of other good information on the website. As she mentioned before, there's
you have that link on our Facebook page.
Yeah, recipes, care tutorials on how to take care of the things. And then, the other thing that you also do is when you're cruising through the plants, you pair them up with some of the specific fertilizers that you've worked with in creating and, have specialized for some of the tropicals, because as we know, some of these plants are very specific, the way that they're grown or how they grow, that sometimes having that fertilizer helps them, grow a little bit better depending on where you're at. Because a lot of times, let's be real, if you're growing a tropical in Arizona, it's really not accustomed to there. So you might have to supplement it with a little bit of help. So why not use the fertilizer that's specifically formulated for it as well, right, Tatiana?
Yeah, in fact, since we're talking about edibles, you don't want to fertilize it with just something because you're going to eat it. So we recommend sunshine boosters. We produce those organic natural fertilizers. They're liquid fertilizers that are good for edibles, for anything that you use for human consumption, so-called, right? So sunshine boosters is your answer. We have it on our website as well, and pretty much every plant has a little link and suggestion which fertilizer to use with this particular species. So you can also find it on subtropical.com. Sunshine boosters, fertilizers, liquid, organic, and it's good for edibles. Anything in your garden, including tomatoes, lettuce, any veggies that you grow. Sunshine boosters is what we always use in our garden.
Perfect. Tatiana, thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully you can take a day off this holiday weekend. Hopefully the weather holds nice for you, and good luck on going into the fall. Is fall a busy time out there for you, or is it slow down a little bit? Hello?
Oh, you're breaking up.
Okay. Yeah. We're just thanking you for joining us this morning, Tatiana, and we hope you have a good season. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you very much. And you guys stay cool, but stay warm at the same time.
Thank you. Will do. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
All right. Take care. I think John, several years ago, she sent us some samples of that fertilizer that she's talking about.
Yeah.
She did. I still have some left over. I quickly learned to follow the instructions on the bottle because it's so concentrated that if you think, well, it says a tablespoon, I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons. I ended up burning a couple plants because I put in too much.
Well, the fact that you still have some left shows that it is concentrated.
Oh, yeah.
You don't need a whole lot.
No. When you first get it, they're smaller bottles, and you think,
right.
Yeah. Anyway, a lot of good plants over there. You know what I wanted to ask, and of course it was just for myself, but she used to sell grafted jacarandas, Tiger, and I've been wanting some of those.
And she doesn't sell them anymore?
Why were they?
I don't know.
What was the benefit of having them grafted? I don't see any. Why would you need a jacaranda grafted?
Well, like anything, if you want an exact duplication, it has to be grafted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most jacaranda are just grown from seed, so who knows what color flowers you're going to get. If you want a really dark, deep purple, there's a variety that is grafted that way. She had, as I recall, she had what I was really interested in. She had red jacaranda.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and maybe a pink or something. I don't know. It'd just be interesting to see. But something I didn't get at the time, and I'm going to have to look into again.
I'm posting all the proper spelling.
Yeah, I know. I'm watching your work over there
and everything else on that post. So now, if you go to our Facebook page, the cute post that has her cat just staring longingly at the Jamaica flowers there. In the post that Jamaica flower looks really neat. Almost looks like a dragon fruit kind of a thing, and it's really not. It looks like a hibiscus flower, but in the post it looks really neat.
I'd have to. I'm trying to think of what that looked like. I was thinking it was like a red flower, but it's not.
Yeah, it is. But if you look at those, don't they look like a little bit like a dragon fruit? See how they're kind of spiky in the photo?
Yeah, but is that the?
It's the bracts, she said.
Yeah, the bracts, not the flower.
Not the flower.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looks like the bracts that are on that one hibiscus that you like.
Yes, the
Proven Winners one?
Maple sugar or something like that. The burgundy foliage one.
Yeah.
I haven't seen those in a long time. I think they just all killed themselves. No, it's the truth. That was the toughest plant, because you wanted it, it grew, and then it just stopped.
That was it.
They all had suicidal tendencies, I think, because
Isn't that the name of a band? Suicidal Tendencies?
I think it is.
I think it is too. Yeah. So speaking of that, what is your most recent failure that you just said? You know what? I'm not
something you don't ask people every day. Is what's your most recent failure?
Yeah, I'm just not going to grow. I'm tired. It's just not going to work. I've given up.
Well, that one rose, I was kind of disappointed, but John made me feel better because he said that a lot of people lost the rose that he gave us.
Which
one?
one?
You said yours is growing.
I had 2. The one is fine. In fact, I'll take a picture next week. It's got nice red flowers, doing very well. Small leaves, smaller variety.
Red flowers or coral?
Maybe coral.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe coral. But the other one, which
Because it was called English coral. That's why I wonder.
yeah, it depends on the lighting. It depends. It's got hues. There's hues. If you're looking for hues. But the other one was hanging in there. It started to bloom and it just gave out.
Really?
Because you
Mine
said that a
never
lot of
started.
people failed, right? That they
Mine
did-
never started.
Yeah.
Most people fail.
Yeah. So I got one out of two, 50%.
Yeah.
So
good.
it's doing well.
I think I got either 1 or 2 out of 12.
Yeah.
That was it.
And what was the origin? Where did they come from?
They were leftovers from Jackson and Perkins, from plants they didn't sell, and they donated them to the American Rose
And
Society.
I'm wondering what the common denominator is that most of them didn't live or didn't do.
Well, they were sold.
old.
They were sold bare root.
Okay.
and they were shipped out in what was that, June?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So very
And-
dry, very
and
tough.
usually, in California, we stopped selling bare root in January, right?
Yeah. we don't ever sell berry.
So
in California.
any that lived, we should feel very fortunate.
Yeah.
It is break time once again. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, those on Facebook Live, Biz Talk Radio, do stay with us as we continue. It is open. I was going to say open phones. We don't take calls. It is open comments on Facebook Live.
Yeah.
Instead of open phones, open comments. Whatever's on your mind, we're going to take a break for Biz Talk Radio. Back after these messages. And just like that, snap of the finger, back here on Facebook Live and also Biz Talk Radio. Thank you to Stephanie and the gang at Biz Talk Radio, keeping us on the air each and every week and also posting our podcast on various platforms. Spreaker's the big one, iHeartRadio, iHeartMedia, and Entertainment. So several ways to pick up our show.
Yeah, shout out to our buddy in Pakistan, Hastam.
There's Hastam. Hey.
Yeah.
Good morning, mates.
I don't know if he.
You say mate?
He says,
Yeah.
mate.
I don't know if Hastam does much with roses, but we were talking before the show starting about how I wrote an article for the India Journal of Roses.
Right before we went on the air.
Right, and it's going to be published in December, I think, in their December. They put an annual yearbook out in December, and it'll be in there. So if you get that or if you can obtain it, Hastam, you can read the article I wrote.
John has gone international.
Wouldn't be the first time. We were talking about with Tatiana these plants to incorporate in landscape, and so Janine, my wife, she wanted a healing garden. So one of the sections of the yard is dedicated to healing. So I have lavender. I've got some of the vegetable plants. I've got roses in there, elderberry,
You should have aloe
lemongrass.
vera in there.
There is some aloe vera in there as well. And it's just different plants that are more known towards healing. And I will say that is a fun area to take people to the yard because I can show them by like, oh, you take this off, it smells like lemon, or look at, you can eat this. And
I used to love to do that with allspice
Yeah.
because, you crush the leaf and it smells like allspice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And people, I think it's kind of like the whole idea of like our food today. People forget that where food comes from sometimes. And, especially when you go to the herb aisle, remember when we were in Costa Rica and the cinnamon, and then there was another tree that she was having people guess the tree, and it was a real common herb. And when she said it, we were all, oh yeah, duh. But, these different herbs and spices that they grow all around us all the time.
Is that the same garden that they had the cocoa tree or the chocolate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, we forget that this stuff does grow all around us, and it's, they come from plants, they come from trees, and it's pretty neat.
Veronica had mentioned that she was excited to go to Tatiana's website, and I did want to encourage people that it's
please.
a great reference
Yes.
website. Tatiana has spent years studying plants and putting all kinds of information up there. There's lots of plants that she never sells,
Yeah.
but you can find information there. So great resource.
And the cool thing about Tatiana's resource is that it's actual, like, hands-on knowledge. And she'll tell that to you. Like, right away when I was talking to her about the interview, she right away, I am no specialist in cold hardy tropicals. She's like, I have no real specialized knowledge of that.
Right.
And so she's real honest in the sense of, this is just my experience. I live in Florida.
Right.
This is my experience. But, it's actual true hands-on trial and error experience that you don't always get that from
Right. She didn't read a bunch
resources.
of books and then say, this
Yeah.
is what I read about,
Right.
and this is what the book says. This is what I've experienced.
Exactly.
This is what worked for me.
Yep.
By the way, speaking of what works for you, I was watching something. I might have been my wife had a YouTube thing on, and she was talking about. They were talking about storing foods up for the apocalypse or
yeah.
whatever.
Got to be ready.
But she was mentioning this show was mentioning how they found honey in Egyptian tombs that was still good.
Right.
yeah.
That honey lasts forever, right? And my thought was, why couldn't you dip cuttings in honey so that they wouldn't rot? Because doing roses, a lot of the problems is that they'll start to grow before they root, and then they just turn black and die. So I thought, because of its antibacterial properties, what if you just dipped it in the honey?
But
Would it
even
suffocate it?
start? Yeah, I was going to say,
Would it
because
suffocate it,
isn't
John?
part of the preservation aspect of honey, is that there's no water or air in there, and so would it germinate still?
Well,
Yeah.
it's a good question.
yeah.
So what I did was I Googled.
Honey rose cuttings.
No, I said, can you start plant cuttings with honey?
Mm-hmm.
And apparently there is a way where you boil water and then add a certain amount of honey to the water to dissolve it, and then that concoction will last forever. So you can keep it in a little closed lid and dip your cuttings in there before you plant them. So anyway, that's something I'm going to experiment with.
Yeah.
I had never heard of it, but apparently our friend Mr. Google had.
Yeah.
But, I don't know if it's fake or not. We'll
Well, you
see.
try it. What the heck?
Yeah.
Because but things kind of germinate on their own sometimes, right, John? Like you can just have a cutting, and it can germinate by itself. So I'm wondering if it could just
root?
like root, yeah,
Root by itself, right?
I'm wondering if it needs the air and all of that, or if that root just comes from the inside of the plant in the stem. So yeah, it'd be interesting to know, because you just dip it in honey and then it's preserved.
Well, yeah, but like I said, preventing that turning black at the bottom.
Yeah.
If I could do that, I think I'd be more successful. Anyway, I'm going to try it. We'll find out.
You don't have your bees still, huh?
Oh, bees are everywhere.
No, but didn't you have a beehive?
You had a hive, didn't you?
We did, and we don't have that anymore because
No.
they left after a year, and I don't know where they went. But now we have 50 beehives.
But natural
Yeah,
ones?
none that you.
No. You were talking about how my house was the second from the end.
Yeah.
Well, the one that's at the end has
Is it
groves.
beekeeper?
No, they have groves where they're growing a lot of guava and some other
okay.
things. But anyway, so they brought in 50 hives, the big boxes.
Yeah.
And if you go out, like the birds don't go to my bird bath anymore because I can fill it daily and the bees come and drink the whole thing.
Yeah.
The bees do.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there's thousands, Brian.
All over the place.
Literally thousands.
Yeah.
And I don't use literally.
And very
I
often.
literally
Right.
don't use it very often.
But yeah, because I was going to say, you can start your hive again, and then you will have your own plant hormone preservative production happening there with your bees.
Right. If you find the queen, put the queen on your shoulder, they'll follow you all day long.
Hey, Hastad mentions that they're doing budding now for rose sales
They'll be ready in
early
January.
January, yeah.
Oh,
And
January.
which is what we're doing here too, at
Yeah.
least in Wisconsin, because I've sent a couple hundred
It's pronounced.
varieties.
It's Wisconsin.
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 Okay.
Just make sure you got that right.
Yeah, to put that on it.
Yeah. Hey, we got to take a break.
Don't you know?
Don't you know? Got to take a break from Minnesota, Wisconsin. All righty. More questions, more comments on Facebook Live. Also thanking you on Biz Talk Radio. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for Facebook Live. We are going to take a break. Back after these messages, whether you're in Wisconsin or not. This is Garden America. Okay, we've returned. 2 more segments to go. 2 more. This is the long segment, followed by a shorter segment.
I thought you just said one more.
2 more. Well, counting this one.
Oh.
Counting this one. 2 more. 1 more after this one. Now that everyone's totally confused.
Yeah,
Facebook
exactly.
doesn't matter because it's
Yeah.
just one long show.
We just
But
roll with it.
Biz Talk Radio, we break it up into segments.
I wonder what is so neat. I'll have to look up that Lila avocado. That would,
Well, what's neat is the name.
well, that's what I'm saying.
If
But I'm
there
wondering.
was a,
wondering
like there's
what-
a tiger fig.
Yeah.
Do you grow one of those?
I'm going to,
Yeah.
but I don't. I have a fig nominal now, right now.
That's
because
is
it's a
that the dwarf one?
It's
Yeah.
a dwarf one, little bush.
Yeah.
I like that's enough fig for me. I've seen that tiger fig tree, and I don't know if I want one. Really cool looking figs.
Yeah.
Really flavorful, but I don't know if I need that tree.
What is
in my
it, too
life.
big?
I mean, the fig trees are not massive, but they do get a lot of figs, and they do get maybe like 8-9 feet tall, 8-9
Yeah.
feet wide. And
Do you like figs?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
love
figs.
figs.
Yeah, and so and you know what's actually got me more excited about the fig tree than the fig itself was I went to this like dinner fundraiser, and one of the chefs prepared it was a fried fig leaf with like a goat cheese and fig paste on it. It was delicious.
A fig leaf?
They fried the fig leaf. So they battered it a little bit.
They put the
fig
goat
leaf
cheese on the leaf, right?
on the leaf.
Okay.
Not
And
a grape leaf. but a
No,
fig
it was
leaf.
a fig leaf.
Wow.
And it was like a potato chip fig leaf with the goat cheese and then the fig jam.
This would
on
be a fresh fig leaf, not one you'd been wearing, right?
it. Gross.
You know who was big into figs? Sir Isaac Newton.
He was referred to as the big fig. Newton.
He was the big fig.
I don't know why that commercial. You never saw that commercial,
I mean,
did you?
But I know Fig Newtons. But
Yeah.
was it named after Isaac Newton? No. Okay. I'm like,
That's just my ridiculous stream of consciousness.
oh.
You know, I always look at John first of all.
There was a commercial with Isaac Newton being the big fig, though?
No. There
Oh.
was a guy dressed up in a fig costume, and he did a little dance and song about the big fig Newton.
What's a fig costume? Like the
Like
fruit?
like
The
a
fruit.
Like
Like
the
the
fruit.
fruit?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do they have figs on Fruit of the Loom underwear? I know
Grapes,
they have
apples.
grapes.
I don't
apple.
know.
I don't
But
think so.
anyway,
Maybe.
I wanted to mention that I planted a neri fig, which is supposed to be one of the world's largest fruits,
Okay.
fig fruits. And you know what really likes figs is gophers.
Oh, gosh.
Oh boy.
I went out there to pull some weeds, and the entire plant was gone,
No. Geez.
every part of it.
Yeah.
I couldn't even find a fig twig.
You know when they talk about, figs being the fruit of everything, like it's a source of the world fruit, kind of thing.
It's
Everything
in the Bible.
yeah, everything eats figs. Because what you're saying about animals,
Right.
they love figs
Yeah.
in all parts of the tree.
Yeah.
So whether it's birds or rodents or critters or deer or anything, it is one of those universal
Yeah, right.
fruits. And it's funny that kids, don't always like them because they're a sweet fruit. They're kind of candy.
It's kind of the texture they don't like.
It's
Yeah,
the texture.
it
That's
is.
exactly right.
but it's
Yeah.
sweet like anything that a kid would
Yeah.
like. But I love a fig, anything. It's just a great flavor, I think. So I love the Fig Newtons.
Fig. Veronica wants to know how you like the fig nominal, the
Um,
fruit on that.
great. You know,
It's as good as any fig.
yeah, it's as good as any fig. I wouldn't say it's spectacular and in the sense of fig nominal.
Phenomenal, right?
I think that it's a very good tasting fruit. I'm more focused on it. It's just an easy to take care small shrub fruit versus having a big large fig tree. Because even when you have a tree, you can keep them small, but there's just so much pruning involved, and they just grow so fast. So the fig nominal is a nice small shrub to have in lieu of that, and the fruit is good on it. A little smaller. The fruit is a little smaller on it, but good to know.
We used to grow fig trees in Detroit.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, because they don't they like
How well do they
freeze
do in that
not
weather?
Very well, like.
Oh, you freeze really well.
But I mean, like, did you have to bring it inside in the wintertime?
No, you would.
Like, cover it with a giant down blanket?
There were two ways of doing it. One is you would dig a trench by the side of the fig, and then turn it on its side and bury it, and then pull it back out in the spring. Or the other way was to pack straw all the way around it and build a little box.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, there's a
We just living in California. We just it grows.
Figs grow by just falling on the ground, and then they just
right. But I mean,
I couldn't believe
the
in
process you're
California
talking
that they
about.
would sell mission figs,
I
because
know.
that is a huge tree.
yeah,
And like you said, they grow really fast.
really fast.
Yeah.
You think you have to be a little more serious gardener in places like Detroit and back east and like out here?
Where they actually have to take care of
Take
their
care of
plants
it, and actually,
if
like
they
John,
wanted
a couple
to.
of methods to
Well,
make sure.
there was a cultural thing in that area too, because there were a lot of Mediterranean nationalities that moved there. Italians would probably be the big one.
The olive people.
Well, regardless of the skin color, the figs. Every Italian wanted a fig.
Yeah,
And matter of fact, my grandma would grow a persimmon and do the same kind of thing. But they would, pack straw around it, build a box, and it would usually survive the winter.
And also, I mean, back during that time too, commerce was different. So if they wanted that fruit, they had to grow it
You're
because
right, yeah.
it wasn't as easy to get exotic fruits, at that time. Because nowadays you walk into a grocery store and you can have
That's
any
true.
fruit that you want any time
Right.
of year. And
Yeah, there were seasons for fruit back then.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
You knew that they were ripe because that was the
That's-
only way you.
Like-
When they appeared, they got to be ripe.
Yeah, you go into a grocery store and you saw an apple. You're like, "Oh, it's apple season. I'm ready
Yeah.
to go." And you buy up apples because they weren't always going to be
Right.
there.
Yeah.
I don't think I walk into a grocery store and don't see apples, don't see
Not
strawberries.
only that, you've
don't
got
see,
varieties that you didn't see 5 years ago.
Yeah. And towards the end of the season, you'd buy a bunch and put them in the fruit cellar.
fruit cellar.
Yeah, we had a fruit cellar.
I bet you did.
So the difference between a basement and a cellar is what, John?
Fruit and wine. You
fruit
put wine.
cellar?
You
No,
put
just
wine.
a
you
cellar and a basement. What's the difference?
You store food in a cellar.
In a cellar,
Right.
And a basement,
basement
is
you
just
hide
below.
from tornadoes.
Well, usually you go down into the basement and then walk into the fruit cellar or wine cellar.
Or wine
Yeah.
cellar. Okay.
Yeah. Hastam said that he has tiger figs over there,
Oh yeah.
Oh, how about that?
I bet you they would. Yeah.
but the black Afghan variety is the most common because
Really?
they use it for drying.
Drying.
Yeah, a lot of
like
people
a date? No,
dry
no, that's
figs.
not. Dry figs.
Yeah, you've seen
Yeah.
dry
Yeah.
figs.
I've
Yeah.
seen dry- Yeah. Is that black Afghan? I don't think I've ever seen that variety. I've
No.
never heard of that variety. So
No.
maybe just over there they have it.
Well, the variety that a fig that you use, and I'm trying to make sure I have this right. Is it the Canardia fig? There's one that has to be pollinated in order to set fruit from that wasp that we don't have here.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure how that whole thing works with pollination. You have to maybe Google it and see. But for pollinating figs, I don't know if you have to put in two different varieties to get that to work. But,
Yeah.
it's a whole birds and bees thing.
That's what.
It's a whole reproduction thing, right?
Yeah.
That you're referring to?
Exactly.
But anyway, I know that those figs are normally grown in Europe,
Okay.
not here.
Yeah.
Maybe Europe and the Middle East
Middle
too, I
East.
would imagine.
1 minute for this segment, and then we'll get into our final segment.
What are we going to do in the final segment?
What's that?
What are we going to do in the final
Come on,
segment?
you know. We talked about this before we went on the
Hey,
air.
weren't
know,
you
but
involved in our show meeting?
Last week I wanted to start the beginning all over because I forgot where I was.
Okay. Well, you have time to go change your clothes for the
All right.
last segment, if you want.
No, you're not going to go change?
He might.
Yeah,
We're going
he
to take a
might.
break.
Yeah.
We have one more segment coming up. Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live. This is Garden America. Now, those on Biz Talk Radio, you'll hear this show next week, and Labor Day was last weekend.
Yeah, we hope you had a good Labor Day
Yeah.
weekend.
And for those of us live, happy Labor Day
You know,
weekend.
this is the earliest you can ever have Labor Day,
Absolutely.
right?
Oh, yes, indeed. Here we go. Wow. How about that? Just like that, the final segment. We've made it. We've made it to the final segment, everybody.
Kevin says he thinks that the green fig varieties taste the best,
Oh, really?
and wants to know what varieties they are. I think he might be talking about Cadota.
I was going to say, I really only see black varieties out there. Black Mission,
Did you say
Black
Cadota?
Jack.
Cadota.
Yeah.
Kadota, Kevin, and that's one of my favorite too. But Kevin definitely would have to have protection in Coeur
Oh,
d'Alene.
goodness. Yeah.
Coeur
Oh, my
d'Alene
gosh.
is not the.
You got to work it. You got to work at it.
Yeah, that's outside the banana belt of Idaho.
Yeah.
So what are you doing this weekend, the rest of the
This-
weekend?
This weekend, fantasy football draft for Isaac. I don't do fantasy football.
He does?
He does.
Wow.
Kind
Kind
Wow.
of? I know you're not a big fantasy football guy?
of. No, I'm
Well,
not.
who's teaching him?
I am. But, I mean, it's not super hard
Well,
to
no,
like,
because
teach.
there's many different kinds of
Yeah.
fantasy football.
Yeah.
Like he'll draft a quarterback and a receiver
Yes.
and all those and hope they do. And that gives him a reason to watch the game.
Exactly. And he gets excited about it, and then he changes his lineup and stuff like that.
Of course.
But no, I'm not a huge fantasy football guy. But we got that, and then some just work around the house.
Now, college
and then
football
I do work
officially-
on Monday.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It's Labor Day. It's supposed to be laboring.
Yeah, I thought that's what
right.
the point of the holiday was. Is
You know what I'm going to do then, just because you told me that? I'm going to shoot you a text and go, ha, ha, ha.
on Monday morning when you wake up at 12.
I'm in bed. It's nice. What are you doing? Are you working? Ha, ha, ha.
Exactly.
You know, if I was running a promotion for a hospital, I would give discounts in the maternity ward on Labor,
Labor Day.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. That's marketing. See, he's a marketing guy.
Do you think that they can choose that time?
They can do anything nowadays.
Yeah.
Hey, Millie said she planted a Chicago hardy fig,
Oh.
and this past March that she bought on clearance, and she crossing her fingers in hopes that it's successful.
She should see some. I mean, she bought it in March, and
Yeah.
she should have seen some really good growth. So she's
Yeah,
worried about it overwintering.
Well, she lives in Napomo. It should be fine
should be
there.
fine.
Yeah, I think it should do really well, Millie.
Yeah. I mean, it does get chilly, but I don't think they get crazy hard frosts over and over again through the year. But so I think it should be fine.
Is Napomo chilly?
I mean, it does.
It does.
Cold. I mean, I went to school in San Luis Obispo, and that was cold to me. Again, it's all relevant.
What,
Like,
48 degrees at night?
Yeah, I mean, it's not exactly like freezing. Not Coeur d'Alene, not Coeur d'Alene, but
Okay.
Did you ever hang out at Half Moon Bay?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that area
yeah,
of California.
yeah. Central Coast.
Where's the other half, by the way? Did anybody figure that
It
out?
fell off. It's in.
that's
it's
right.
in. It's in the.
Oh, that rock was the part of the rock fell off, which was the other side
There's
of.
Morro. That's Morro Bay. You're talking.
Oh, Morro Bay. I'm sorry. Yes.
about. Yeah.
Hey, Tatiana said that her favorite fig is Ischia. I think that's how
Ischia.
it's pronounced. Ischia. She said it's very sweet and juicy.
Oh,
And I've heard of that one too.
I was going to say that's something I don't think about with figs.
Well,
It's
some-
juicy.
Sometimes some fig varieties are really dry.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily have to be juicy, but you want it to be moist, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But I don't like that's not something like when you're talking about an orange or a lemon. sometimes they're juicing lemons or juicing oranges.
Right.
I never thought about that with a fig, but yeah. I can't have an over-ripened fig, though, where they're real soft. I don't like that.
You're thinking of figs or persimmons?
No, I'm thinking of figs. Like, sometimes they get real mushy.
Well, those are rotten.
Exactly. Well,
There's a lot of fruit that I don't like when it's rotten.
yeah, like bananas.
Yeah.
Well, but banana, you can still eat an
You
overripened
can make banana
banana.
bread.
I put it in smoothies.
That's true,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't do banana bread. That's too much work.
You know, I made banana bread several years ago, and I used stevia. I said, I'm not using sugar at all, right?
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
And I brought it into work. I'm like, well, let's just see, you know. Cut it up. Oh, this is so good. Oh, I bet it's got a lot of sugar in it. Oh, this is the best tasting I've
Really?
ever had. And
Well, stevia, huh?
I said to some people, I said, well, it's not sugar, it's stevia. They went, really? I go, yeah. He goes, I never would have known. And it was pretty good.
You put nuts in your banana bread?
No, but I mean, I could take it either way,
Yeah.
you know.
You know, Tatiana.
Sometimes you feel like a nut, right, John? And
Sometimes you don't.
yeah, exactly.
Tatiana says that she has that Ischia fig available on her website. I don't know what others she has, but I think I might take a look
Yeah.
because I'm going to plant another fig with a
gopher
gopher
cage?
cage. Right.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
Wouldn't it be
you got
nice
the
if you
cage.
could just spray for gophers?
spray?
What are
That
you doing this weekend? I'm going to go home and spray for
would,
gophers.
that would not be good because if you're spraying something for gophers, that cannot be good for the soil. What are you going to napalm?
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, spraying for gophers. That'd be so dangerous.
Speaking of figs and fruit trees and anything about fruit trees and edible fruits,
Where are you going with this?
You'll
You look-
see.
He's,
I know where he's going.
he's looking at me and smirking. I don't know.
No. I always smirk when I look at you.
You're talking about the high guys.
Yeah. Our buddy Ed Livo
Oh.
joined really quick.
Able Solutions.
I wonder what Ed's favorite fig is.
Yeah.
We have about a minute and a half. Ed, if you want to answer that quickly.
He has a lot of opinions. He's
On
tried a lot of
Facebook?
fruit. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And
yeah.
he knows a lot. He's tried a lot of different stuff. So he has good opinions on what he likes.
He'd be
and
the
what he
kind of guy
doesn't
that would say, yeah, it does taste good, and I understand why you like it, Tiger. However.
like. Exactly. Exactly.
Hey, Tatiana did post really quick. She does have a lot of other fig varieties. Just go to the website and take a look.
Well, figs are one of those plants that just do, for her, reproduce by falling on the ground and growing.
Yes.
So I'm sure she has a lot of varieties because she.
You know, a lot of people start figs from cuttings,
yeah,
right?
They're super easy to start from cuttings. So,
Yeah, I've never done that, but
Yeah.
a lot of people say that they do really well.
Yeah.
We have to wrap it up.
All right.
Until next week, enjoy the rest of your Labor Day weekend. Tiger's working on Monday for those that care.
If anybody's in the Plumeria Society, we're trying to get the broadcast from there. I've been
We'll-
reaching out and
we'll
nobody.
try.
Yeah.
If not, we'll be back next week, and you'll have a guest lined up if we don't.
Yes.
Either way, okay. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. Get out there and plant. Do what you need to do. Stay cool. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll do it again next week, whether it's broadcasting live at the Plumeria get-together in Balboa Park or right back here in the studio. For the entire crew, I'm Brian Main, John Begnasco, Tiger Palafox. Thank you to those on Biz Talk Radio. Thank you to Facebook Live. We'll do it again next week here on Garden America. Take care.